Hi, my name is Mihai Bondar. I work for SCC. I'm the general manager, and I've been there for, well, 13 years, I believe. So quite a long time. um, we are in Romania since 2006. We started in Iași, so as opposed to some other companies, we start in a second-tier city from the beginning. And we started in Iași with 26 employees. We have now little over 1,000. But the reason we're here is to talk about Bacău. And I'm going to try to be as pragmatic as possible. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges and benefits of being in Bacău. And also, I'm going to appreciate some questions from you because I like to get the dialogue started as much as possible. Yeah. So Bacău, in case you don't know the history, is the second largest city in Moldova. It used to be quite a flourishing city. Back in the 90s, due to the political situation, let's say, it was one of the most important centers, both economically and industrially in Romania. Unfortunately, it has declined quite a lot in the recent years. It still is the second most important city in Romania. It has a large international, fairly large international airport with a lot of recent investment. It's actually starting to be a real competition for Iași in the area, which is quite interesting for us. It does have two universities, one public and one private, although only 7,000 students study there. So the pool of graduates is not as rich as other cities. And we set up shop there in 2013. At the time, we were, like I said, in Iași, and we were trying to find new markets, new areas to deliver services from, mainly looking for commercial advantage. So we were looking for more competitive resources in the market. Right. So we're there in 3,000 square meters. We have about 400 employees, and we deliver mostly back office type services, but also IT support type of services. Yeah. We've grown to the 400 employee mark in about 3 years. So it took us until 2016 to go to 400 employees. It was quite fast for Bacău standards. And we've stayed there ever since. And this is one of the challenges that we have found. We have found that given the fact that the employee market, the potential employee market, is quite limited, a lot more limited than second tier or first tier cities, it is quite difficult to grow. In the beginning, actually in the first year, I think, it was very easy to attract new talent. It was very easy to attract new staff. But as you get to a certain size, the attrition levels are a challenge. So it's a challenge to recruit just to maintain the current staff levels. That is very different, and that is very particular to locations like Bacău that don't have the abundance of new of new graduates. Like Iași or Bucharest or Cluj or Timișoara. Okay. We're actually the third largest employer in Bacău. The first one is the old airplane factory. The second one is Agricola, the farming company. We're actually the third largest. So unfortunately, there are not a lot of opportunities for people there, which creates a sort of a unique situation. One, there's no room to grow in the industry, which can be seen as an advantage because you would think that people don't have any place to go to leave the company for, but actually it's quite a major disadvantage because you cannot hire any skilled people. Everything that you can hire is junior people. If you want someone who has, I don't know, 3 years storage experience or 5 years or 7 years storage experience, out of the question. You cannot do that. The only option is to actually relocate somebody from another town, but as you can imagine, Bacău is not exactly a very attractive destination to relocate. Um, it's relatively easy to attract unskilled workforce, and also the regional setup plays to our advantage, because Bacău, okay, it's not that large. It has about 160, 170,000 inhabitants, going down from about 220 to 130,000 in the late 90s. But on the other hand, there are quite a few smaller cities within reach. So, for example, Piatra Neamț is 60 kilometers away. Onești, Moinești, Comănești, again, less than 60 kilometers. Roman, less than 60 kilometers. So you have this range of smaller cities that are almost commutable. So we found that we are able to attract people that are commuting every day from Onești or Roman or Piatra Neamț, which is quite interesting, and is largely due to the geography. The reasons for attrition: the attrition is not that high. I would say that is within the norm. So if you've seen the figures this morning, we are right about in the middle there. The strange thing, or the unexpected thing, let's say, is the reasons for attrition. So, for example, where in Iași we expect to see attrition driven by compensation, for example. People go and work for a competitor to get some more money. The attrition in Bacău is quite atypical, because about 40% is leaving the country, and about 20% is leaving the city. And the difficulty here is that we find it quite difficult to fight this. When you are fighting normal reasons for attrition, then you have ways to fight the phenomenon. When they're leaving the country, it's a bit more difficult, because really it's a bit tough to compete with London, for example, or with London salaries. The other interesting fact is that maturity is quite low. And we surprisingly found that people are willing to give up the job just like that. And they don't really have another job. They don't really have another plan. But they don't also have any expenses. So most of them live at home. They're quite young. They live with their families. They don't need to worry about tomorrow. They don't need to worry about paying the rent. So they'll say, well, from tomorrow I'm not coming back into the office. That's it. Right? So this was also something that we needed to adapt to, because we were expecting that that it's going to be a little bit more difficult to leave their jobs. And last but not least, the office market is a challenge. We are currently in a not purposely built building. So back in 2013, when we went there simply were no buildings that we could rent with the amount of space that we needed. So we looked at what was available, and we actually rented exhibition space, former exhibition space that was built by the City Hall with European money to hold exhibitions. As you can imagine, as any very successful business by the City Hall, there were not a lot of exhibitions in the place, so we actually repurposed the building for office space. The issue is that even today, if we were to try to leave that building, we don't really have a suit for purpose or fit for purpose building to move to, and the only discussion that you can have is have somebody actually build something for you with a promise of rent. But enough about the negative side. Let's talk a little bit about the positives. One of the big positives that we found was the relationship with the local authorities, because being one of the most important employers in town, it's a lot easier to have access to the City Hall, to the universities. And we actually have quite a good relationship with the City Hall. We're actually renting the building from the City Hall. That's been there for the last 6 years. And it's also very easy to discuss with the universities. We have had a lot of initiatives with the state university in particular, starting from actually having optional subjects studied in the engineering faculty that are actually taught by our trainers, up until any sort of campus recruitment projects or internship projects that are sponsored by the university. The other good thing is the healthy working relationship, because even though we see quite an important level of attrition, we also see that the employees that do stay with us, they tend to stick with us for a long time. So we have quite a lot. Actually, when we started in 2013, we had 32 employees. I think about 20 of those are still with us. So there is a lot of attrition on the very junior levels, but then again, on the people that do stay longer, you do have quite a lot of time to develop and grow. And also the very interesting fact is that we managed to build the skill set in time. So even though we started 6 years ago with very low skill set, we build the capabilities and we build the skill set of the people. So now we actually have quite a few more complicated, technically complicated services that we deliver out of there. So types of things like network operation centers and data center operations. Okay. Reduce costs? Not really. If somebody is coming for Bacău to look for reduced costs, you're probably going to see 7 to 10% lower wages than Iași, for example, probably 15 to 20% lower than Bucharest. But then the extra effort that you have to put in to manage the location sort of cancels that out. So for example, the management overhead that we have to put in is quite significant, because most of our senior managers are not from Bacău. It's just because of seniority and work experience. So most of our senior managers are from Iași, and we have to travel constantly and try to manage everything from Iași. We are trying to grow managers from Bacău as much as possible, but we're still probably a few years away from that. Easy to recruit? Yes, up to a certain size. So it depends a lot on what you're trying to do there. Probably if you're going to set up shop, not Bacău, but I don't know, Botoșani, let's say, is still an unexplored city in Moldova, and you're planning to put 100 people there, probably is going to be quite easy. If you want to put 500 people there, you're probably going to hit a certain size, and it's going to become more and more difficult to grow from there. I think that's it from me. Questions?
Thank you very much, Mihai. Quite impressive results, reaching 400 people in 3 years in Bacău with all these challenges. So really, congratulations for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a question here? Yeah.
Based on what you described, if you could go back in time, would you go there?
Definitely, yeah.
Why?
Like I said, we found out a lot of things through the years. So in the beginning, we did not expect that we would hit this limitation, that at some point the pool would become so small that we cannot recruit. So we did the math. Iași is 350,000. There's probably 15,000 people working in the industry. Bacău is half that, so easily a few thousand, right? So this was our thinking.
Was fitting your criteria first, so...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Experience tells us now that that doesn't work. That math doesn't work, yeah? So, yeah, the city is half the size of Iași, but the problem is that most of the workforce is migrating out of the city, and not a lot of people are staying in Bacău. Yeah. But yeah, even with what we know now, in a heartbeat, we'd go to Bacău again. Actually, I wasn't with SCC. I left and came back. So I wasn't with SCC when we took the decision to open the Bacău. But what we would do differently, we would have different expectations, because at the beginning it was so easy. Everything was so pink. You know, put everything in Bacău. Any new service that's coming, put everything in Bacău, up until you reach this limitation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So,
one more question, please. How about languages? Which languages are you using in the electivity?
English and French. English and French are actually the bulk of our activity. We also deliver Italian from Bacău, because there was a lot of immigration quite a long time ago. Some people have came back, and surprisingly Italian is quite a popular language in Bacău. Spanish is available, and also Hungarian, believe it or not, because there's an important Hungarian-speaking community around Bacău, and also the vicinity to Harghita and Covasna is helping.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much.